2 or 3 months ago, my father suddenly lost his mind and started pushing for me to get married. In a single month, he arranged 10 blind dates. I felt like I had met half the eligible bachelorettes in the city. I couldn't take it anymore. After a massive, roof-shaking argument, I ran away from home. I had just managed to relax, finding a corner in a loud bar to drown my sorrows, when his phone call chased me down. "Are you going to get married or not?" My old man's voice was so full of vitality it cut clearly through the thumping bass and electronic music of the club. "No," I shouted back. "If you don't get married, I'm so worried I can't even sleep at night." "If you can't sleep, go find a night shift to work," I yelled into the receiver. My dad immediately exploded into a string of curses. Even through the phone, I could imagine his impotent rage, spit flying everywhere as he paced around his study. I snorted, taking a sip of my drink. The old man started wailing on the other end about his chest hurting. He claimed that if I didn't get married, he would die of heartache just to show me. I closed my eyes, suppressing the rising anger in my chest. Out of the corner of my eye, I glanced at 2 men kissing in a booth not far away. Suddenly, a plan formed in my mind. "Quiet, listen to me," I said. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but after I said that, the music in the bar seemed to dip in volume. I didn't have time to think too much. I channeled all my energy into my diaphragm and shouted into the phone. "I'm gay," I declared. "I can't marry a woman." As I had hoped, the old man fell silent. I was extremely satisfied and was just about to hang up the phone when his voice came through again. It wasn't as firm as before. If I listened carefully, I could hear a slight tremor. "So what if you're gay? Gay people have to get married too." "No, Dad, you don't understand. I said I like men. Do you think I'm some kind of antique?" he snapped, his voice regaining its strength. "I don't care if you're straight or bent, a top or a bottom. You are getting married." Now it was my turn to be speechless. Since when was the old man so progressive? "I don't even know if I'm a top or a bottom yet," I protested. My dad was still muttering on the other end. "Being gay is fine, fewer options to filter through. I heard Dylan creates quite the stir in those circles. You can just marry him." "Marry who?" I almost dropped my phone. "Old man, are you crazy?" "Dylan? Dylan Vance. Dylan Vance." He was a figure who held the city in the palm of his hand. He was a titan of industry, a man so powerful that everyone had to give him face wherever he went. Rumors about him were terrifying, each one more horrific than the last. They said he played for both teams and had no scruples. He had only recently started cleaning up his public image. But that wasn't the point. "The point is," I stammered, "you want me to marry that old bald guy?" In a corner of the bar where no one was paying attention, the sound of glass shattering echoed my internal state. My dad's voice came through, sounding slightly guilty. "He's not bald. I saw him once from a distance. I didn't see his face clearly, but his hair was very thick. But I heard he has a limp." "So what if he has a limp? If he's crippled, isn't that more convenient for you? You can outrun him." "Enough," I shouted. "It's settled then," my dad said with finality. I let out a cold laugh. "Settled? Do you think Dylan is someone you can just arrange a marriage with? You don't need to worry about that. Your father has his ways. People really do lose their minds in middle age. With our family's modest assets, just getting a meeting with Dylan would be burning high incense and praying to the gods. And he wanted to arrange a blind date? It was suicidal. I didn't take the matter to heart at all, assuming it was just another one of his manic episodes. A few days later, it was the old man's birthday. Arguments were arguments, but he was my father, and I was his only son. I had to go back. I arrived at the birthday banquet carrying a gift. It was called a banquet, but it was really a social mixer for business, full of hypocrisy and flattery. I sat in the corner, bored out of my mind, playing on my phone. That was until my dad suddenly led a man over to me. The man had thick, dark hair, sharply defined facial features, and perfectly healthy limbs. He stood there with a natural, effortless nobility that made the cheap tuxedos around him look like rags. "Noah," my dad called out to me. "Come here." I frowned, wondering what scene the old man was going to cause now. "What for?" "To discuss your marriage with Mr. Vance." The man spoke then, his voice low and mellow like vintage red wine. "Hello. I am Dylan." We moved into a private VIP room. The three of us sat in 3 different corners, presenting a strange, triangular standoff. Dylan was the first to speak. I have already prepared the wedding. The suits will be sent over first. Mr. Noah just needs to show up on time. My dad was beaming, his face full of joy like spring had arrived early. Good, good, good. That is wonderful. Sorry to trouble you, Mr. Vance. Noah has a bad temper, so please take care of him. You can call me Dylan, father-in-law, the man said smoothly. The words father-in-law sounded incredibly piercing to my ears. I let out a cold sneer. Father-in-law? Who agreed to this? Did I agree? My dad glared at me. He's calling me that. As long as I agree, it's fine. The veins on my forehead were throbbing. I'm the one getting married, damn it. Why don't you ask if I agree? My tone was harsh. The atmosphere in the private room instantly became tense. The old man tried to laugh it off, but I didn't give him the chance. It was swords drawn and bows bent. Dylan curled the corners of his mouth, a faint, unreadable smile playing on his lips. Father-in-law, let me chat with Noah alone. Okay, good. The old man scrambled out of the room faster than a rabbit. Only the two of us were left in the room. I didn't bother hiding my displeasure. Is Noah something you can call me? I snapped. What should I call you then? Dylan asked, tilting his head. Husband. I froze for a second, then exploded in rage. Damn it, are you sick in the head? Dylan spread his hands. Sorry, I was joking. Let's talk. I suppressed my anger, forcing myself to calm down. Marriage is out of the question. I stood up, ready to leave. Just as my hand touched the doorknob, the words coming from behind me nailed me to the spot. America. Las Vegas. The High Roller Suite. $3 million. He was talking about my study abroad days. Back then, I was young, ignorant, and easily led astray. I was far away in a foreign country, and my dad couldn't control me. I lived a life of absolute debauchery. Drag racing on mountain roads at dawn, throwing money around in bars at midnight. I did it all. Until that one day when I got too drunk and was provoked by some people with bad intentions. I opened my mouth and said I would cover the entire consumption of the club for the night. That was a disaster. Once the words were out, I couldn't lose face by taking them back. I suffered for the sake of appearances. In the end, I really gritted my teeth and paid it all, maxing out several credit cards. I didn't have a penny left. I didn't dare tell my dad. Even now, I wouldn't dare let him know. For a while after that, I lived worse than a homeless person on the street. I would check dumpsters behind restaurants to see if there was any food. That incident sobered me up completely. I cut ties with those toxic friends. My dad even praised me, saying I was studying hard abroad. My pupils contracted. I turned slowly. How do you know that? Isn't it normal to investigate a marriage partner? Dylan sat there, looking composed and inevitable. Marry me, and I will keep this a secret. Why me? I asked, bewildered. Of all the people, among the marriage candidates my family selected for me, I only liked you. You will really keep it a secret for me? Of course. I gritted my teeth. Fine. We get married. The wedding won't be too flashy, Dylan said, standing up to adjust his jacket. My family only invited some close friends. If you have any needs. I interrupted him. I don't need anything. Just proceed as you planned. I wish no one would know about it. The wedding was rushed to the extreme. From my agreement to the ceremony, it was less than a week. My dad looked at me in my suit, sighing with emotion. I kept a dark face, too lazy to pay attention to him. The wedding was just as Dylan said. Not flashy, effectively very low-key. At first glance, it looked like a gathering of friends, just with a few more wedding procedures. We read vows, exchanged rings, people ate, and then we were sent to the bridal chamber. I was exhausted. I lay on the bed to catch my breath. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Dylan changing his clothes. Broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and defined abdominal muscles clearly visible. I swallowed hard, turned over, and lay on my stomach to start counting the cash gifts we received. Dylan walked over. Take your clothes off. I reacted instantly, clutching my pants tightly. I am a straight man. As soon as I said that, my butt received a sharp slap. Don't swear. A place that hadn't been touched by outsiders for years was suddenly attacked. A strange, numbing sensation, like being bitten by ants, instantly crawled over my entire body. Shame followed immediately. I jumped up, clutching my rear, my face red and my neck thick with anger. Who do you think you are? Even my dad hasn't spanked me. Then the other cheek was slapped. You don't have a good memory, do you? Dylan's voice was calm, but authoritative. I've wanted to say this for a long time. After marriage, you must change your habit of swearing. My face flushed crimson, a mix of shame, annoyance, anger, and indignation. Don't spank me. We'll see, he replied. I really am a straight man, I insisted. Didn't you announce to the world in the bar that you were gay? That was opposite day? I also said you were bald and crippled. Wasn't that the opposite too? I thought quickly, seizing the opportunity to flatter him indirectly. Dylan huffed a laugh. Enough. Go take a shower and change into pajamas. Isn't that wedding suit uncomfortable? Only then did I realize I had misunderstood his meaning about taking clothes off. I grabbed the new pajamas and slunk away to the bathroom like a gray rat. The next day, I was physically dragged out of bed by Dylan. Time to get up. I looked out the window. The sky was still dark. My morning temper exploded. The sky isn't even lit. What are we getting up for? Don't bother your father. Smack. My butt was slapped again. The sound was crisp and loud. Dylan's face was dark. Try saying a curse word again. I wanted to cry but had no tears. I covered my rear and begged for mercy. Can I sleep a little longer? No. You need to follow the rules in the manor. Sleep at 10, wake up at 6. My cerebellum shriveled up the moment I heard, wake up at 6. I let him manipulate me like a marionette. While eating breakfast, I was so sleepy I almost planted my face into the porridge. Dylan's warm, broad palm cupped my cheek, holding my head up. He sounded helpless. Are you really this sleepy? I nodded like a pounding garlic pestle. I thought he would say something like letting me sleep late in the future. Instead, he said, you'll get used to it. Speechless. He just asked that question for nothing. After the meal, the butler came to explain the rules of the manor to me in detail. They were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. No swearing was just the basic one. Walking, sitting, and lying down all had specific requirements. I listened until my scalp went numb. We forcibly lived like this for a week. I swallowed more curse words in that week than I had spoken in the past 20+ years. I had no choice. As long as I showed the slightest sign of slack, even if just the first syllable left my mouth, Dylan's hand would rise. My butt was constantly in a state of phantom pain. I was extremely puzzled. How could someone like spanking people so much? One day, Dylan was working overtime. The clock hand pointed to 10, and he hadn't returned. I locked myself in my room and completely relaxed. I hurriedly summoned my friends to start an online game match. I put on my headphones and played with abandon. It was so exhilarating that I didn't notice when a certain Mr. Vance returned. Damn it. Number 6, are you playing with your toes? I cursed at my teammate's idiotic operation, spitting out all the profanity I had held back for days. I was in the heat of the game when my phone was suddenly snatched away. Who is it? Do you have a death wish? I admit, when I saw the person's face, I had a moment of guilt. Dylan's face was iron green. Noah. 2 in the morning, playing games, cursing, and eating snacks in bed. He yanked my headphones off. My teammate's voice leaked out immediately. Holy crap. Noah, where are you? You went AFK? Damn, we're gonna lose. I couldn't hear the rest because Dylan turned off the phone and tossed it aside, his voice devoid of any emotion. Turn around. Probably because of the adrenaline from the game, I wasn't afraid of him right then. What for? Do you want to spank me again? Yes. Shouldn't I teach you a lesson? That disciplinary tone just sounded unpleasant. I leaned back, swearing to protect my rear to the death. You're not my dad. Why do you get to control me like this? A vein pulsed on Dylan's forehead. I huffed. I won't listen to you anymore. Big deal, we get a divorce. As soon as the words left my mouth, a shadow suddenly pressed down. Dylan pinned my hands behind my back with one hand and clasped the back of my head with the other, imprisoning me unquestionably. Our faces were so close that our eyelashes were clearly visible to each other. Dylan glanced at my lips, his tone fierce. Try saying those ugly words again. I instinctively flinched. But my rebellious psychology surged up inappropriately. Try it then. I opened my mouth lightly. At your age, are you still role-playing a domineering CEO? Dylan laughed out of pure anger, the corners of his mouth hooking up slightly. Then, he crushed his lips against mine. MMPH. There was no tenderness, purely punishment and venting. He ground against my lips until they hurt. My head was pinned, I couldn't push him away. I wanted to speak, but was afraid he would stick his tongue in. Dylan pulled back a little, pressing his forehead against mine, his voice rasping. A mouth that can't say nice things is better off plugged. I immediately wanted to retort. As soon as I opened my mouth, a certain person took advantage of the opening. My breath was stolen in an instant, and sticky, ambiguous wet sounds filled the air. I flushed red and bit down hard on the tip of his tongue. The taste of blood spread immediately. Dylan stood up straight, letting go of me and wiping the corner of his mouth. I spat several times. I am straight. What are you doing? I rushed into the bathroom and rinsed my mouth frantically. Dylan squeezed in, and without standing on ceremony, spanked me again. His voice sounded like it was squeezed out from between his teeth. Straight? A straight man has a tent in his pants at a time like this. I looked down and froze. An emotion similar to fear and confusion surged in my heart. Finally, I concluded I was crazy. I pushed Dylan out, locked the door from the inside, and pressed my back tightly against the door panel. Get out. Isn't it normal to have a reaction when being kissed? I am a straight man. It would be the same no matter who kissed me. Dylan turned the doorknob and took a deep breath. Come out first. I don't want to. Old men just love being everyone's dad. I won't listen to you. Then you can sleep in there tonight. The shadow on the door panel left. I calmed down and started rinsing my mouth again. I am straight. I really spent the night in the bathroom. Luckily, his bathroom was huge. I went from standing to squatting, and finally, when I was too sleepy, I grabbed a towel, covered my stomach, and fell asleep on the floor. When I woke up the next day, my whole body ached, and I was sneezing continuously. I opened the bathroom door and found that Dylan had already gone to work. I sniffled through my blocked nose. I washed up and went to eat, only to find that mealtime had passed and the butler had already cleaned up. I'm sorry, Mr. Noah. It is not dining time right now. Fine then, who cares about your food anyway? I changed my shoes and went out. Remembering I didn't have a vehicle, I turned back and grabbed the keys to the most expensive car in Dylan's garage. I roared away. The flashy sports car darted through the city and finally stopped in front of my favorite hole-in-the-wall diner. If Dylan and his family of old antiques knew, they would scold me for eating junk food again. Thinking of him made me angry. Idiot. Old man. Bald donkey. I bit viciously into a soup dumpling. Not caring about table manners, I quickly swept through the table of food and drove home. My own home, not the home of that crippled Dylan. My house was empty. I remembered my dad saying he was going to travel the world. I didn't care. I threw myself onto the sofa and started to catch up on sleep. When I woke up again, it was already dark. There wasn't a single message on my phone. My heart felt empty. Belatedly, I realized I was expecting a message from Dylan. This thought annoyed me. I pulled my game console out from under the TV cabinet and played until midnight as a way to vent. Nothing happened. No butler came to announce dinner. No Mr. Vance came to catch me playing games. I should have been happy with the freedom, but I just felt off. The words "game over" on the screen were piercingly bright. You're the one who's over. I shouted at the TV. I stood up, stomped my numb feet, put on a coat, and planned to go out for a midnight snack. In the dead of night, there were hardly any people or cars on the road. The cold wind howled past, making my head spin in waves. I shook my head, felt hot, and took off the coat to tie it around my waist. The convenience store was just ahead, but it felt like no matter how much I walked, I couldn't reach it. My face was burning, my limbs were weak, and my steps were floating. I suddenly realized I was probably sick. It was all Dylan's fault. It was definitely his fault. I forced myself to keep going, planning to get into the store first. But after 2 steps, I stumbled and almost knelt on the ground. Someone rushed over and supported me, bringing a wave of cool air. I looked up and saw a handsome face. So, you really can't curse people behind their backs? Otherwise, when the fever makes you delirious, all you see is that person. Dylan reached out and touched my forehead, laughing in exasperation. Noah, you really are something. Wait, is it a real person? My sluggish brain tried to turn, failed, and jammed. I simply slumped into his arms. Whatever. If you don't want to deal with me, you can just leave me here. Dylan took off his coat and wrapped it tightly around me. Then he stuffed me into the car. The coat still had his body heat, warm and cozy. I shrank into the depths of the fabric in the passenger seat. Dylan glanced at me and sped up. The car stopped in front of the villa. Noah, get out. I was groggy. I glared at him and choked out. Stop ordering me around. Dylan stopped talking. He leaned in and scooped me up horizontally. I hung on him, squirming. Don't touch your father. Then I was stuffed into the blankets. My body alternated between cold and hot, feeling miserable, until a glass of warm water touched my lips. Open your mouth. Take the medicine. That commanding tone again. I didn't like hearing it. I turned my head to the side. Dylan sighed. He threw the pill into his own mouth, took a sip of water, held my head in place, and pressed his lips to mine to pass it over. The bitter pill was forced down my throat. The warm water that I couldn't swallow in time slid down my chin. Dylan sucked it away intimately. Kissing so presumptuously, huh? I turned over and kicked him. It was soft and powerless. Are you sick? Who told you not to take the medicine? Waiting to burn into an idiot. You're the idiot. Your whole family are idiots. Yes. Go to sleep quickly. You'll be fine when you wake up. I silently thought I would settle the score with him when I woke up, but I fell into dreamland as soon as I turned over. In the middle of the night, it seemed someone was always tucking in my quilt and checking my temperature. A cold thermometer was shoved into my armpit, making me shiver. I pushed and shoved, trying to hide. Someone held my head and coaxed me in a low voice. Okay, it's almost done. It wasn't until the sky turned white that the person beside me finally breathed a sigh of relief. I was woken up by hunger this time. I opened my eyes to see the familiar yet strange decoration, startled that I was back here again. Dylan appeared with dark circles under his eyes. Awake? I asked the butler to make you some porridge. Get up and drink some. What time is it? There's still porridge. My throat was hoarse, but it didn't stop my sarcasm. Didn't you say no food outside of meal times? Didn't you say wake up at 6 and sleep at 10? Didn't you say swearing gets a spanking? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I rolled my eyes at him and burrowed back into the quilt in a huff. He fished me out. There are exceptions for illness. Dylan placed his hands on my waist. I broke free uncomfortably. Don't touch me. Do you really hate it that much? I didn't answer. I just felt weird inside. I hummed a non-committal sound and didn't look at him. Dylan stared at me tightly, then suddenly compromised. Fine. I will keep my distance in the future. Here we go again. Hearing this, I should have breathed a sigh of relief, but now that breath was stuck in my chest, unable to be spit out or swallowed. Eat first. I'm starving to death, I said, forcing myself to ignore the strange feeling. After the meal, Dylan instructed me to take fever reducers. I suddenly remembered his way of feeding medicine last night. He really didn't miss a single chance to take advantage. I crunched the pill into pieces and swallowed it dry. I lay on the sofa and was just about to put my feet up when I received an unfriendly look. I silently took my feet back. Dylan withdrew his gaze and said coolly, "You can do as you please while you are sick." I had a death exemption gold medal. I didn't stand on ceremony with him and let myself go again. I lay down when I wanted, scratched my butt when I wanted, until my shirt rode up, revealing a section of my waist. Dylan narrowed his eyes. Put your clothes on properly. Oh, fevers go away fast. My death exemption medal expired just as quickly. I had to go back to sleeping early and waking early to avoid missing meal times and starving. Life seemed to return to normal. The only difference was that Dylan was really keeping his distance. Even when he heard me swear, he didn't spank me anymore. Under the same roof, we lived like roommates sharing a rental. I felt inexplicably irritable. My brain, the size of a sunflower seed, couldn't process anything too complex. I just couldn't stand his hot and cold attitude. So, I decided to make him angry. I knew roughly where his bottom line was. It was nothing more than eating in bed and the like. So I deliberately bought some strong-smelling snacks and gorged myself in the room. Dylan came back from work. The first second he entered the room, his brow furrowed. I secretly observed his expression. I thought, this is it. I'm definitely getting scolded. Then he said, Noah, you should eat less junk food. It's bad for your health. If you have cravings, you can ask the butler to bake some healthy oil-free cookies. The cookies the butler bakes taste quite good. TSK. Pretentious. I didn't like hearing it. What do you do with a mouth that won't say nice things again? I couldn't remember for a moment. I glanced at him, then stuffed another mouthful of snacks into my mouth. My greasy hands hovered dangerously over the bedding, just a hair's breadth from smearing oil everywhere. I controlled the distance perfectly, dancing frantically on his trigger points. My speech returned to its natural state. Got it. Old man, stop trying to lecture everyone. Dylan nodded, then asked the butler to clean up in a bit. He walked away. I froze in place. He wasn't even angry at this. No spanking. At worst, cursing me a few times would be fine. It made me feel suspended in midair, extremely uncomfortable. The snacks lost their flavor. I threw them aside and shouted for the butler to clean up the mess. This boring life filled me with pent-up fire. A stranger suddenly barging in made me feel even worse. Dylan. The newcomer looked only 18 or 19, with a head of bright blue-dyed hair. He shouted Dylan's name loudly and kicked his shoes aside randomly. My brow twitched. That dog Dylan always required me to place my shoes neatly. Blue Hair walked over, saw me, and knitted his delicate eyebrows. Who are you? Your father. The butler arrived at this moment, carrying a pair of slippers. Master Caleb, long time no see. Please put on your slippers. So annoying. The person named Caleb said, pointing at me. Butler, who is he? Mr. Noah is Mr. Vance's. The rest of the words were interrupted by the sound of the door opening. Dylan was back. I just stood up when the blue hair in front of me flew forward. He hung all four limbs on Dylan, hugging him tightly. His tone was intimate. Didn't you say you were going to pick me up at the airport? Why didn't you come? Dylan placed him on the ground. Work was too busy. I watched their interaction. Unhappy. Clang. I kicked over a chair. I didn't control the angle or force well, and my little toe smashed hard against it. Tears shot out instantly. Ow. Dylan looked at me, but didn't speak. I glared back and flipped him the middle finger for good measure. Enduring the severe pain from my toe, I limped back to the room. Why hadn't I noticed before that the room smelled just like Dylan? Disgusting. I turned on the ventilation system to full blast, then lay on the bed playing with my phone. A moment later, Dylan pushed the door open and came in. Does your foot still hurt? None of your business. Let me see. He grabbed my ankle. His fingertips, rough with thin calluses, slid over my skin, giving me goosebumps all over. I pulled my foot back and said grumpily, Don't touch me, it's dirty. Did you wash your hands after hugging that blue hair? He has a name, he's called Caleb. I don't care what he's called. Get out. Dylan had no choice after being kicked at. He stood a bit further away. Why is your temper so bad today? This master was born with this temper. If you don't like it, go find your good-tempered blue hair. I rolled myself up into the quilt like a burrito. Dylan looked at me thoughtfully for a while and said, That Caleb is indeed much more obedient than you. I was the one who honestly put my shoes away. I was the one who got up on time every day. I was the one who didn't even cross my legs on the sofa. And in the end, blue hair is more obedient than me? That's hilarious. I grabbed a pillow and smashed it at Dylan. Get the hell out. Noah, what are you angry about? This question stunned me. Indeed. Why was I angry? Because he was intimate with someone else. I didn't even like him. Dylan upped the ante. Are you jealous? Jealous of your grandmother's uncle. Get out. I understand. It was just a man's possessiveness at work. Although we couldn't get a certificate legally, we had a wedding and went through the procedures in the eyes of society. He was cold and hot to me, but intimate with an outsider. If I wasn't angry, there would be ghosts. I coaxed myself into calmness and then kicked him out. At dinner time, the butler knocked on the door to call me to eat. I struggled out of the warm nest. Arriving at the dining room, I saw the two of them sitting close together. I was full. I turned around to leave. Dylan called out loudly, Aren't you eating? Not hungry. Blue Hair's brown eyes rolled. Dylan, I wanted to ask, who is he? I slowed my steps silently, hearing Dylan draw out his voice. He is, after a vague syllable, he said, a friend. Friend my ass. Why didn't you say I was a friend when you were kissing me? I was furious. I went back to the room, played 2 rounds of games, and lost both. I was so angry I threw my phone. I went to the garage, swiped a sports car, and went back to my old trade. I chose the nearest racing club. The manager saw me and joked, Master Noah hasn't been here for a long time. Which track do you plan to run today? I chose the most thrilling one. The car roared along the winding mountain road. The surge of adrenaline made me briefly forget the suffocation. I floored the gas pedal again, the tail of the car sweeping past the edge of the cliff, leaving deep tire marks. After rushing across the finish line, someone came to report the time. After not driving for so long, my speed was indeed much slower. There were more people on the mountaintop than expected. I took off my helmet and bumped into a few old acquaintances. Yo, Master Noah, long time no see. Where are you working these days? Heard you got married. Did Master Noah forget how freely he used to throw money around? A group of them gathered together, laughing loudly. I clenched my fists. These were the people who urged me to pay the bill abroad back then. I was young and ignorant, easily triggered, so I couldn't entirely blame others. But after gradually cutting ties, I never contacted them again. At this moment, I didn't want to argue with them, until someone recklessly put his arm around my neck. Noah, how much did he offer you? I didn't understand for a moment. What kind of fart are you letting out? The man smiled lewdly. Why pretend? Aren't you just selling your ass? How much did that guy named Vance offer? I'll pay double, come with me. Before he finished speaking, I slammed him to the ground. I stepped on his chest and ground the tip of my shoe into him. Keep your mouth clean. The faces of the people around changed. Steps shifted, surrounding me in the middle. Noah, you've got guts now. Who doesn't know Dylan is famous for playing around? He probably played you out already, right? TSK, homosexuality is disgusting. The tight string in my brain snapped. I grabbed the one closest to me and punched him straight in the nose. Blood sprayed. Everyone rushed up at once. Countless fists landed on my stomach and back. They wanted me to kneel and beg for mercy. I refused to yield. If my hands were pinned, I kicked. If my feet were held, I smashed with my head. I was bruised and battered. They weren't much better off, lying on the ground wailing. I stood up, my forehead warm, my vision blurred red with blood. I walked over to the one who called it disgusting and stepped on him. Look clearly at who is beating you. Whether homosexuality is disgusting or not isn't for you to say. The person under my foot coughed up blood. Noah, you're done. I absolutely won't let you off. I sneered. Come at me. Your father is waiting. Someone from the club walked over and said they had called the police. I shook my head, planning to leave first. I just didn't expect Dylan to arrive faster than the police. He walked over quickly, his pressure lower than ever before. Noah, can you let me worry a little less? My anger flared up again. Who asked you to worry about me? Even if I die here, what does it have to do with you? Dylan had tolerated enough. He scanned my whole body, then slapped my uninjured buttock. Say that again. I'll say it. Who the hell wants you to worry? I had just fought for his honor, for God's sake. A dog biting Lu Dongbin, unable to recognize a good heart. Seeing him annoyed me. Silence fell around us, only the wind blowing. Dylan and I confronted each other silently. The sound of police sirens approached. Dylan grabbed me. We'll talk at home. We took another mountain road. He made a call in the sparse time he had. Clean up that group on the mountain. Don't leave traces. I sat silently in the passenger seat. After the blood rush ended, I started to feel cold. Dylan turned on the heater. Talk. Why did you fight with them? I don't know. You don't know? Dylan laughed out of extreme anger. The tone was harder than stone. Noah, you are really capable. Last time you ran away, you made yourself sick with a fever. This time it's a gang fight, 1 against 5, getting yourself beaten bloody. What's next? What else do you want to do? I pursed my lips. The rearview mirror reflected my wretched, dirty face. I didn't look like a noble young master. I looked like a stray scavenging for food, one that had just been beaten. Stop the car. Where are you going? I want to get out. So, I asked you, where are you going? Since when does CEO Vance control heaven and earth, and even where his friends go? Stop the car, or I'll jump out the window. Dylan didn't answer. I waited 3 seconds, then unlocked the door, braced myself, and kicked it open, rolling out in one smooth motion. The inertia of the car flung me quite a distance. Behind me came Dylan's heart-wrenching scream. Who cares about him? I scrambled up, clutching my bruised arm, and stumbled away. Dylan slammed on the brakes, nearly driving the car into a wall. He stormed over, furious, scooped me up, and threw me over his shoulder. His palm landed ruthlessly on my rear. The crisp sound seemed to echo between the mountains. This slap held nothing back. It was completely different from the playful discipline before. I was stunned. My butt burned with pain. Dylan, are you crazy? Yes, I am crazy. Of all people, Why did I have to fall for a terror like you? Who forced you to fall for me? Then the other cheek got slapped. One dirty word, one slap. Plus what you said at home, you owe me dozens now. At this intensity, he was going to turn my rear end into a meatball. I was so angry, I almost vomited blood. Kicking and hitting him got no reaction, so I simply bit down on his shoulder. Dylan hissed. Not to be outdone, he turned his head and bit my thigh. His sharp canine teeth broke the skin. Biting there hurt way more than biting a shoulder. I shrieked. It was only a few steps, but Dylan carried me for at least 5 minutes. I glared at him with red eyes. You are sick. Still daring to swear? Then beat me to death. Dylan's chest heaved violently. He looked around, then suddenly pinned me against the wall. One hand secured me, the other yanked down my pants, exposing half a butt cheek. The skin suddenly touched the air, giving me goosebumps from the cold. Dylan slapped the goosebumps away with another palm strike. Say it again. My brain exploded with a buzz. I won't say it. I really won't say it. Seeing no further resistance, Dylan pulled my pants back up. He stuffed me into the passenger seat, wishing he could wrap me in the seatbelt like a mummy, and then drove to the hospital. I had many wounds, and the places I couldn't see were bruised and swollen. The doctor treated me bit by bit. He paused when he saw the wound on my thigh. This was bitten by a human, right? Luckily the skin isn't broken deeply, otherwise, you'd need a shot. Hearing this, I shot a vicious glare at Dylan. He was holding his phone, listening to something, and upon receiving my signal, he raised an eyebrow slightly. I immediately rolled my eyes. The wounds were treated, and several places on my body were wrapped in gauze. The doctor prescribed some ointment, and instructed me to change the dressing frequently at home. Dylan agreed for me. After calming down, neither of us had that aggressive momentum anymore. He walked in front carrying the medicine, and I followed behind. Until we got in the car. Dylan sighed. Let me guess which sentence caused the fight. Did you look into them? You investigated me? Is that surprising? Not really. If he hadn't investigated, that would be weird. Was it because they said homosexuality is disgusting? Or because they said I was disgusting? I sneered coldly. Stop flattering yourself. I just didn't like the look of them. My words were interrupted by Dylan. He looked at me quietly, his eyes holding emotions I couldn't understand. Or perhaps, you discovered that you have also become one of those people. I instantly clenched my fists. Dylan patted me. Relax, the wounds just bandaged are going to split open. I wanted to speak, but found my throat incredibly dry. Dylan looked around, then suddenly leaned in. Before I could react, he pecked me quickly on the lips. Is it disgusting? I flushed red instantly, staring at him, not knowing how to react. He laughed. Seems not. Humph. I swallowed the rest of the words back into my stomach. Dylan handed me a bottle of water. You see, facing and accepting your own changes doesn't seem that difficult, right? I simply lowered my head and ignored him. Dylan didn't mind. He gave me enough time to think and react. Until we got home. Entering the door, we saw Caleb, that blue hair, lying on the sofa with his belly exposed, playing on his phone. Yo, you two are back? I shifted my gaze to Dylan, questioning him silently. He slapped his forehead. Forgot about this. I'll explain in the room. I sat, and he kneeled. Holding my calf, he rubbed the medicinal wine he had warmed in his palms onto my large bruises bit by bit. Caleb is my uncle's son. After my uncle passed away, he came to rely on me. He's young and used to being wild outside, learned all the open habits. Most importantly, he and I are the same role. I was comfortable being massaged, dozing off against the sofa. Hearing the last sentence, I opened my eyes slightly. You mean he's a top two? That is quite unexpected. A large swath of bottoms outside are going to cry themselves to death. Dylan paused for a second, then laughed. Sure enough, his image really tricks you guys every time. What do you mean? It means what he has in his pants is bigger than yours. I was actually already a bit delirious. Hearing this, I subconsciously retorted, mine is huge. Is it? Let me see. No peeking. Fine, go to sleep quickly. I was tucked into the blankets by him. My head touched the pillow, and I had a moment of clarity. How do you know he's bigger than me? Have you seen his? Why isn't your little brain this sharp normally? You really saw it? Is your relationship appropriate? I warn you, if you dare to cheat, I will bite off your. So fierce. Go to sleep. I'm waiting for you to bite. I suspected he did it on purpose. But I had no evidence. And I was dying of sleepiness. Whatever, sleep first. The next day, I slept until noon. When Dylan came to wake me up, I stayed in bed and refused to get up. Why doesn't blue hair have to follow rules? You have bad intentions. Besides swearing, what else have I actually obeyed you on? I was speechless. Thinking carefully, he really hadn't constrained me much. He said wake up at 6. I couldn't get up, and he didn't really do anything to me. I thought and thought, finally finding one. Not having food outside of mealtimes, that's not accusing you wrongly, right? Haven't you eaten snacks behind my back plenty of times? If I didn't eat, I would starve. I argued with Dylan over trivial matters for half the day. He finally compromised. I really recruited an ancestor. Fine, ancestor, get up for lunch. From now on, you have the final say in the Vance family, okay? Then I want to sleep as late as I want. Okay. I want to play games. Okay. I want to eat snacks in bed. Just ask someone to clean up after you finish. Then I want to be the one on top. Baby, that is not possible. Why? Good boy, tonight I'll show you why. Then forget it. Bonus. Dylan's perspective at first. I just wanted to go to a bar to relax. I heard the person in the next booth talking on the phone and realized he was also being pushed to get married. It was quite interesting, so I listened a bit more. Until he stood up. I followed his posture and looked over. Whoa, that is one distinctively pert rear end on a man. I wondered how it would feel to spank it. That thought startled even me. But I accepted it quickly. Seeing a nice asset and wanting to touch it is human nature, right? Then I heard my own name. Old bald donkey. Cripple. Really interesting. I really wanted to teach him a lesson. My grandmother threw a stack of photos at me, declaring I had to choose one from them to marry. I flipped through them one by one and found him. The photo was likely taken secretly. His rounded features didn't have much expression, except for a pair of sharp eyes. He reminded me of a friend's aloof Bengal cat that ignored everyone. I said, let's go with him. Grandmother looked at the person, stunned. Who is this? How is this photo in here? You're just getting old. You selected them and forgot. I like him. I'll marry him. Fine, whatever you want. So I had someone investigate him. Knowing his heroic deeds abroad, I actually admired him a little. Child's intelligence is unknown, but he's quite resilient. I went to his father's birthday banquet. His father was honest. Seeing me, he immediately told me everything. He was sick, terminal illness, not much time left. Only this son wasn't settled. He was anxious, so he resorted to a desperate plan, sneaking his son's photo into the pile my grandmother had selected. By accident, I had actually chosen him. His father's words were earnest. Just a bit too chatty, delaying me from meeting the person. I made up a random excuse to trick him. I didn't expect it to actually work. How could his own father not know about maxing out cards abroad? Cute. He just loved swearing a bit too much. Needed some management. I had a brilliant idea. It could satisfy my little dark thought and also set some rules for him. Then I got my wish. I won't say much else. Warm and firm, resilient and smooth, the texture was truly excellent. Today I worked overtime. Actually, it was for his dad's business. Terminal illness couldn't just be left untreated. I invited all the famous doctors and checked him from head to toe. Finally found out it was a misdiagnosis. His father is healthy as a horse. But we're already married. If he wants his son back now, it's too late. I found an opportunity to test Noah. Okay, I kissed him on purpose. I didn't expect his reaction to be so big. Insisting on sleeping in the bathroom was one thing, but running away the next day? By the time I found him, he was almost burning up with idiocy. He didn't know how to take care of himself at all. I should find a rope to tie to him and take him everywhere. Yes, that night I found an excuse to kiss him again. Sure enough, no matter how hard the mouth is, it's soft when kissing. Asterisk the kitten raising manual asterisk. Rule 1. Have patience. Give the other party enough time. Rule 2. Do not force the other party when they are unwilling. Only, after I kept my distance, he didn't seem any happier. Caleb's appearance gave me some other ideas. Noah might be bent without knowing it. They say falling in love makes people childish. Absolutely correct. A man over 30, yet I actually wanted to see the person I like get jealous over me. Noah will never know. When he glared at me with red eyes, how much I enjoyed it. A ruffled kitten, almost cute enough to make me faint. finding out he went racing and got into a fight. I was angry and distressed. Also annoyed, wondering if I provoked him too much. I regretted it. Testing and games can get lost. Facing Noah, I should just throw a straight ball.